welcome back to my channel. So today again I'm shooting from my car because I'm not gonna have time later on to shoot this at home because I have so much things to do today. But this is going to really quickly be a book review on Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I just finished this book yesterday and I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. It is such an amazing book. So this book basically tells the tale of three children who grow up in a boarding house called Hailsham that's in Norfolk, England, and kind of and they are clones. They're not actually people like the way that we would consider them to be, and kind of their upbringing and kind of what happens to them over the course of growing up in Hailsham, leaving Hailsham, and then becoming adults, and then ultimately what the end goal of why they are made kind of becomes known at the end of this book, and then of course brings them to their fates. This book is such a phenomenal book. It is not an easy book to read. It's in the terms of the kind of content that it is, and it is a very, very tragic book, but it makes you think a lot. And this part of the review is going to be spoiler free because I don't want to ruin it for you guys, because I noticed my book reviews in the past where I talk a little too much about the book and then I ruin it for you guys that probably haven't read the book. So I don't want to tell you this much. So when I go more in depth about what actually conspires in this book, I will tell you guys spoiler alert. And then of course for you guys if you haven't read the book and you're interested in reading it, then you could not watch the rest of the video, and if you have, you can continue, or if you just don't care, you can watch the rest of the video as well. But this book has a lot of themes of passivity and I think loyalty and the gray area between right and wrong, and compassion. It's such a strong book, and I can see why Kazuo is such a prolific writer, especially in our time, because I think he really understands the confusion, and I think the misunderstanding of ourselves as human beings, and I think that he really writes this very well. He writes it out very well in this book. I gave it 5 stars I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads, and I would suggest that you guys read it because it is such an amazing novel. So with that being said, I'm going to go into the spoiler part of the book. So basically, so just remember what I said. If you guys don't want to listen to the rest, then click off. If you are interested and you still want to know what happens in the book, then continue watching. Anyway, there's several things I really love about this book. I really loved the writing style. It was very conversational. It was very easy. The narrative was very easy, and I know that on Goodreads there was a lot of problems with the fact that it was so easy, that the narrative and the style of the narration was very conversational, but I could especially, and I guess not believable for the time because it is set in the 1960s, and then yet still science fiction, which is another thing I really love about this book. He kind of transcends genre between historical and science fiction, and it's kind of flows very well in the book, and in the most realistic sense too. But I really understand why he did it in such a easy reading form, because of how complex this story is, and I think a lot of the underlying themes and meanings, and of course the deepness and of the characters, and then of course the underlying issue, I think, or theme that he focuses on in this novel is done, and he wants us to kind of make it easier for us to realize it through having an easy narration. I think that it's phenomenal. I loved it. It flowed well. It works well for the piece. One thing that I feel like readers, what we tend to forget is we think that because there's a certain writing style that we like, or a certain form that we like, we expect all writers to follow that. And a lot of times, for a lot of different stories, narrative forms change all the time because they need to fit with the story, and they need to flow, and it needs to work. With this story, I feel, because there is no right or wrong answer in this, but I do feel like this story needed this narrative form, this easygoing, conversational narrative form. Another thing I really like about this book is Kathy H., who is the main character. Most of the book is told through her consciousness rather than what she speaks, and I think that's something that's very unique in a novel like this. And it resonates with us so much because, and it fits the narrative as well, the narration as well, because I think that the way that the book is written and the way that it jumps from certain points in the book and certain points of her history and the way she thinks of things and the way she connects the dots in very weird ways is a great way of understanding our consciousness. And I think he brought that back from kind of like the stream of consciousness. I think that comes from the romantic era, and he brings that back so well in this novel. And I think that that's something that is so amazing that he did. And yeah, I mean, I think those are all aspects of the book that are so great. Even the fates of the characters, as tragic as they are it's the perfect way to end it. There was, and it makes you really think, and it does make you really think about how we consider things that we use in our disposal for the betterment of humankind. I think there is a piece I'm gonna see, because I'm trying to go quickly because I'm working from my phone. I'm trying to see a piece that says, let me see. Okay, there you go. So this is when they are speaking to Madame, who was the headmistress of their boarding house, several years after they left Hellsheim. And this is what she tells them. She says, we demonstrated to the world that if students were reared in humane, cultivated environments, it was possible for them to grow to be as sensitive and intelligent as any ordinary human being. And I think that brings us on a final note, because it makes us really think that if we are educated in the arts, and we really try to explore the very depths of humanity, we would have so much more regard for not only ourselves and each other, but for the world that we live in around us and the different things that do exist, or even the things that we create. We wouldn't take advantage, and we wouldn't view them as just mere objects or as mere means to an end. And those are things that, we see, that you see in this novel, because towards the end we learn that the reason that they made Kathy H. and Tommy and Ruth was because they needed their vital organs for the betterment of society, because they are the reasons why they eradicated cancer and all these horrible human diseases, and we depend on them for those donations. And so they are entitled, they are forced to live a life where they have to be very, very secluded and in their own area. And then of course, when the time comes, they have to make donations, and then of course die on the medical table. And that is something that is so dark and very hard to think about, because in a way, we do that with a lot of things. We do that with animals, we do that with nature, we do that even in history, human subjects. I mean, the what they used to do with slaves and blacks in the South throughout history, and even the Native Americans, and what they did with the Jews and the Holocaust. Those are things that we don't think about. And I think that Kazuo does such a great job with bringing that idea back to light, because we don't regard those things, because we see them as, in a way, like those discoveries that came out of those experiments bettered us, but at the detriment of someone else. And that's something that we tend to not think about, because we try to think about, what's good for everybody, instead of what's the right thing to do. And on that note, I give this 5 stars. I think this is such a phenomenal book. I suggest all of you guys to read it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this video. I'm sorry about all the cuts, because I am working from my phone. So there's, with storage problems, how it goes. But anyway, I hope that next time I do a review, I will be doing it in my house, hopefully, and not in the car. But the next book to look forward to is Breath, Eyes, Memory by Edwidge Danticat. I just started reading this yesterday. I actually just met her a few days ago, so officially, because we've been emailing each other for a couple of years now, but I met her officially, so I'm really excited to read this book. But I'll have that review up for you guys soon. Anyway, thanks you guys so much for watching. Like and comment if you've read the book, if you liked it, or if you're interested in it, or if you have any recommendations for books that might, that have anything to do with a philosophy. I think this book really touches base on a lot of philosophical ideas, and so I'm really interested in reading more books like this because this is a phenomenal read. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.